Protic because it's having hydrogen attached to nitrogen. Hydrogen attached to nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine. I said they were. So you buy that ammonia is a polar protic solvent. Ammonia is a polar protic solvent. Yes or no? You dissolve sodium in liquid ammonia. You dissolve sodium in liquid ammonia. You get a solution. You get a solution which is colored. Yes, blue. Very true. Who said this? A solution which is blue colored. What else? Again, I'll come to that about ions and all, but this is a blue colored solution which you obtain by dissolving sodium in ammonia, a solution which is very conducting, and a solution which is say paramagnetic. A solution which is paramagnetic. Now when you see a solution colored, conducting, paramagnetic, what do you think? Huh? That you know sodium is in group 1. Yes? Electrons. I mean, I don't recall again exactly, but in some of the classes I might have said that even color will owe its source to presence of free electrons. We'll again discuss this in more details, but you will see that presence of unpaired electron can certainly make a solution conducting because it would be the electron, the ions, charges which would be moving. Paramagnetism is again because of unpaired electron. So many times a solution or a compound, a system will owe its color because of unpaired electron. We'll explore all of that one by one, but this suggests that sodium going in liquid ammonia would have lost its electron, become Na plus and E minus. And again what I said you before, in a polar protic solvent, the solvent will take care of the charged species. The solvent will take care of the charged species because it's polar, it's protic. It will solvate Na plus as well as E minus. It will solvate Na plus as well as E minus. In this case, our focus is more on these electrons. So let us know that X sodium atoms producing X electrons would need X ammonia around it, maybe, and ammonia solvating these electrons would be called solvated electrons. Electrons would be called solvated electrons. So the way sodium dissolves in liquid ammonia, the solution which is obtained, all of this indicates presence of solvated electrons. As I said, this would have ideally found its place in inorganic chemistry, but know this: all the properties of the solution will owe its source to, or will come because of these solvated electrons. So this tells you that metals in solution can give you electrons. Now all of this would have been absent if sodium would have reacted with ammonia in gaseous form. Take out the solvent factor, take out polar protic solvent factor. Let all of this be gaseous. You see a chemical reaction, sodamide and hydrogen. If all of them are in gaseous form, you see a chemical reaction. So you realize that solvent has a role to play. And depending upon the presence or absence of solvent, a metal can also behave differently. So all of this in gaseous form. In liquid ammonia, sodium gives you a solution of this form. You know the presence of electrons in polar protic solvents, or at times even in apolar aprotic solvents. Now what will happen in polar solvent is this electron would be better taken care of, it would be accommodated better, it would feel at home. When it's ether, the electron will not be that better solvated, because ether happens to be a non-polar solvent. I can rub all of this. But you know that in solvent, a metal is likely to lose its electron. Now magnesium is losing its electron in a non-polar ether solvent. This electron is not highly solvated, so now this might want to go and attack a molecule, in this case a ketone. Now this is polarized as O minus and C plus. So magnesium being a metal, S block, if it loses electron and it's not properly solvated in electron in the solvent ether, where would this electron go? Carbon positive. Electron will go to the carbon positive. This bond is polarized, O minus C plus. The electron might attack here. So you understand that this electron coming from magnesium can make it a species like this. These are called radical anions. These are called radical anions. Now realize again, the nomenclature is so justified, it's radical anions. These are radical anions. Now free radicals, you know, are never stable. So two radical anions. Let me have the other one in this way, so that this unison would look more practical. Now these two would combine, these two could combine. Magnesium can lie in the vicinity of this, or magnesium would be involved with this negative to form a dimer like this. To form a dimer like this, as I said, magnesium could be there in the vicinity. And you just need to invert this a little bit. You realize this and this are actually similar compounds. Two free radicals can club, condense to give a dimer form. So magnesium and ether is good enough at reducing. Now realize, if it donates its electron, it's acting as a reducing agent. It's reducing the aldehyde or ketone initially to a radical anion and then to a dimer, and this on hydrolysis will convert O minus to OH. So this is how magnesium ether and hydrolysis would convert a carbonyl to a diol. So many times the reactants or the reagents chosen would be very specific. So you need to have a recall value of these reagents. When you see magnesium ether, hydrolysis with an aldehyde or ketone, you'll feel like forming a diol. We can move on. I can rub this. Now if it's understood in this case, this certainly understood in this case. Where cycloketones are behaving like acyclic ketones. Now I can do pinacolone on this. Dilute H plus. Identical positions, symmetrical diols. Any carbon can lose water. Suppose I take water out from this carbon atom. A positive would be developed here, followed by water would go, a positive would be developing here, followed by look properly and then tell me. Alright, you want me to do it again for you? Yes? Ring expansion. Hey, let me have water removed. And let me have, I guess all of you are understanding me. Hey, ডিভিডি কোথায় চলছে? গেটটা লাগাও না একটু, ওই গেটটা লাগাও যেখানে চলছে। So far so good. And again you realize the intent is to convert a 3-degree carbocation to a 2-degree carbocation, which is more stable because the positive would be on carbon next to OH, and there are no groups around. The only way this can happen is this bond would migrate in this way. Now what do you call this? You call this ring contraction or ring expansion? In the process you will be getting a 5-membered ring and a 4-membered ring. Yes or no? Now again we'll want to break up this step as we do generally. Let me have this bond broken so that this comes over here, this becomes negative and this becomes positive. This negative takes care of this positive. So let me have a 5-membered ring. Well, this is the carbon on which the 2 rings are. What do you call such compounds? Spiro. Yes, you call such compounds spiro. And if this is this carbon and if this is this carbon on which the two rings are, because all of you are understanding, it's becoming a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 membered ring. This is the carbon on which the two rings are joined. Then the next one would be bearing OH with a positive charge. So this would be the one bearing OH with a positive charge. So this would affect a ring expansion. And pinacol, pinacolone in cyclic compounds would have in store a few surprises for you. But realize the basic mechanism would remain the same, which is loss of water and generation of a more stable carbocation. There would be steric factors somewhere, there would be structural related issues most of the times. But this to this is done using pinacol, pinacolone. Let me reduce this by using a normal reducing agent, lithium aluminum hydride. I am reducing this to an alcohol like this. And maybe, although we have not discussed details of elimination reaction, but I have at least told you about dehydrohalogenation, Sedgwick-Hughes and those sort of things. Let me have this treated with acid, concentrated acid. H plus will attack OH minus, loss of water, a carbocation generation followed by ring expansion. Recall what I said, in carbocation will be prepared for all sort of rearrangements. Recall when I was discussing the basic rearrangements, if there is positive next to the carbon in the ring, it can expand. So this can expand to a 5-membered ring. From spiro it will become a bicyclo compound. And do you recall and do you make out that once a positive is coming here, this bond is migrating here, the positive would have come on this carbon? Yes or no? I mean, how it's going to happen? H plus taking out water, a positive developed here. I can remove this. If all of you have copied, I can remove this. Now, there would be a drive to increase its size, to decrease bare strain. Smaller the ring, more the strain. Whenever there is positive next to a ring, it will try to expand. And again, I can break this expansion. As this bond moving here, this negative coming here, and this positive would be left. So this would become a bicyclo compound. Now, without drawing one more structure, let me have a positive charge here. Now, although a positive here is unstable, but it will very quickly get rid of this positive charge. By losing this hydrogen, and in the process, I would have got a bicycloalkene. A positive generally is unstable here. So, doing the normal nucleophilic reactions on this carbon is difficult. Doing the general nucleophilic reactions on this carbon is difficult because a positive is unstable, steric issues are there. But see the tools which I am using pinacol, pinacolone, and then I am using dehydration of alcohol. There is a very strong urge of ring expansion, and that will break it free to form an alkene, which is otherwise difficult to obtain. I accept that positive here is unstable, but it's going to be so short-lived that it's going to quickly form an alkene. It would lose H plus, it will come down. We'll see dehydration of alcohol very shortly, which will involve loss of water in this way only. A carbocation would be formed, and H plus would be acting only as a catalyst. I might have again discussed this in tricks and bits in different classes. It would be called dehydration of alcohol. So you might want to use pinacol, pinacolone to obtain a few compounds which are otherwise difficult to obtain. Most of the times the cases I would be discussing with you are going to be classical experimental results. For that reason, all of them are very significant. We can move on. একটু অফ করে অন করো।